Hi, Brother Denny here. I would like to say I have seen God at His best. The testimony I want to give today is, it's been several years ago. They were having a tent revival on the west side of the city, and I'd heard about it, and I knew some friends of mine that were putting on the revival, and so I went over in the daytime and asked them if they needed any help, anything I could do, and they said they needed some chairs. I remember telling them I had some folding chairs. I had 30 or 40 of them, I guess. So anyway, I took them over, give them to them, and they asked me if I would like to come play on the platform, and I played a little guitar, so I said sure. I was planning on coming anyway to the revival, and thought that'd be pretty neat, a tent revival, outdoors. And so anyway, I went over and got to play a little bit, and it was just a good time, and I don't know, I was going about every night, and I don't remember how long it went on now. Seemed like maybe a week or two. And anyway, I remember one night there was a fellow come in, and I didn't know him. Seemed like others knew him, but I didn't. And he wanted to play guitar, and so they had him play guitar. And I remember I got to play next to him. An awesome guitar player. I mean, this guy was just awesome. And anyway, after the service was over and everything, we were cleaning up for the night. I remember sticking around to help do the cleanup, and this fellow was putting his guitar and his amp in his car, and it was a big amplifier, and so I helped him put it in his car, and him and I got to talking. Everybody else had left. We were standing out back of the tent, and the Lord just put it on me to pray for this guy, and his name was Brother Ray, because we had met and introduced ourselves, and as we were doing all that, and anyhow, he said, sure. He said, I can always use prayer. And so I got to pray with him, and in the prayer I learned that a lot of times when you're praying for someone, God will reveal things in that prayer, that just the way and the style that you pray, and the things that come out of your mouth. So we were praying together, and I remember saying, God's going to restore things, because He gave me a word here. It's called restoration, and so we got done praying, and him and I don't know, it was on a Friday or Saturday night, and him and I sat out there and we talked, probably an hour better. I don't remember exactly how long. I'm talking about this has been years back, and anyway, him and I were talking, and he said, what do you think? He said, what's going on? He said, you felt like you needed to pray for him. And I said, well, apparently God is going to restore something in your life. I don't know what it is. I said, he said, what's that normally mean? I said, well, I don't know. I said, a lot of times it has to do with marriages a lot, He said, well, that wouldn't be me. And I said, why is that? And he said, well, I'm not married. I said, well, then apparently that's not it. But I said, anyway, I said, I just felt the anointing of God. I said, so I prayed for you, and that's all we can do. I said, we just want to be obedient to God. So the more we talked, he started talking to me more about it. He said, this restoration you're talking about, he said, God didn't tell you anything else. And I said, no. He said, well, I said, but you said you've not been married, so that's not it. He said, no, I didn't say that. He said, I said, I'm not married. He said, be honest with you, brother. He said, Brother Ray told me, he said, he just got divorced. I said, what do you mean you just got divorced? And I said, maybe that's what God's going to restore. He said, not going to happen. Not going to happen. He said, I just got divorced. I think he told me in the past week how his divorce was final. And I said, well, God has a way of doing things. I said, I just prayed, and, it's in God's hands. And anyway, so the tent revival went on, and we never talked no more about that. It was months later, I suppose, and we were having a singing, a friend of mine, Brother Dennis, and myself, and I traveled with him quite a bit. And we were having a singing. It was over on the south side in this church, and like I said, it was months, I guess. And anyway, we were setting up, and as we were setting up, I seen this fella come in, and I recognized him. It was Brother Ray, and he had a woman with him, and they went and they sat down, and anyway, I got done setting everything up front, what I needed to do, and I went down and talked to him. I said, "Hey, Brother Ray, how you doing?" I said, "You remember me, Brother Denny?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "I remember you." And he said, "Yeah, I sure do." Because we hadn't seen each other in this time, and he introduced his wife. He said, "This is my wife," and he introduced her, and anyway, then him and I, we kind of went off to the side, and his wife was talking with other people, and I said, "So you got married again?" I said, I said, "That's awesome." He said, "Well," he said that, "You got to understand," he said, that's my wife, but he said, "It's actually my ex-wife." And I said, "What do you mean, your ex-wife?" And he said, "It's my ex-wife." He said, "It's just the lady that I divorced." And I said, "Really?" And I started laughing. I couldn't help it. And I said, "You remember that night out behind the tent, at that tent revival?" I said, "You remember that?" He said, "I sure do." And I said, "Remember we prayed?" And I said, "And God gave me a word, and I told you, and you asked me what it meant about restoration." He said, "Yeah, I sure do." I said, "God didn't miss it, did he?" And he looked at me, and he said, he said, "At the time," he said, he said, "I knew I had just got divorced from her." And I said, "But see, God has a way of working things out. As I like to tell people, it's not over till God says it's over." And I remember that man, him and his wife got up that night at the singing there. They got up and they sang a song together, and I was just thinking, God is just so awesome. He put that marriage back together, and when people go through divorces and things, they think it's all over, but God put that one back together. And then that fella, after he got done singing, him and his wife, and he wanted to testify, and he told about how him and his wife got back together and got remarried. And I just wanted to share that with you. It's like I always say, I have seen God at his best. And this testimony I just gave is an awesome testimony. It truly is God, and he's so awesome and great. But that still wasn't God at his best. And in that, I'd like to say, God bless you and have a blessed day.